Hello and welcome back to the Author Roundup, a special segment of the Book Connection Show where we meet up and coming indie authors and talk to them about the recently released books. Welcome back again. This is Ray Walters. Some mysteries begin with a missing object. Others begin with the uneasy feeling that what was lost may have been hidden for a reason. The Lost Panel takes readers into the world of sacred art, stolen masterpieces, buried secrets, and one of history's most enduring art mysteries, the missing panel of the Ghent altarpiece. When a fragment of a Nazi diary points toward a trail long dismissed as myth, young art historian Sophia Rossi is pulled into a dangerous search involving cathedral archives, hidden codes, 15th century painting techniques, and a powerful collector who wants the truth for himself. This is a story about beauty, obsession, history, and the secrets people are willing to protect across centuries. Joining us today on the Author Roundup show is the author of The Lost Panel, Mark Steven Hammond. Mark, welcome to the Author Roundup, finally.
Thank you so much, Ray. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you. Can't wait to talk to you about your book. But before anything else, congratulations on getting this book published, Mark. How has it been since this book came out? This is with Archway Publishing, right?
Correct. Yeah, no, it's been a great ride, and the book's doing beyond my expectations, so I'm very happy.
Very good news. And before we jump into the first question I have for you, I just want to know, how long did it take you to finish this book, finish writing it?
Yeah, it was a little over 2 years to write this.
2 years. Wow. And well, we write at our own pace. Some authors would take 10 years even, but yours 2 years. That's amazing. Mark, let me ask you the first question. I want to ask this question because I want to introduce the real historical mystery behind the novel that you've written. And obviously, without revealing too much, what first drew you to the mystery of the Ghent altarpiece and its missing panel? And did I even pronounce it right? Ghent altarpiece.
No, you have it correct. So Ghent is actually a city in Belgium, and the Ghent altarpiece is in the cathedral there.
Hmm.
And what drew me to it is I was on several trips in Europe and going to museums and going to the Louvre, and I was in the Vatican and I was looking at art 600 years old. And I started wondering, what is the life of a painting that lasted 600 years? And so that's kind of what drew me to the subject matter. And so then I started thinking about what would be interesting to research
Okay.
some painting that was that old. And that's how I ran into the Ghent altarpiece. And not just by its age, but that it really started one of the first paintings of the Renaissance era.
Yeah. Hmm.
So that's what drew people into it, because of the way it was painted with oil for the first time. And once I started studying about it, finding out that it's the world's most stolen painting that I had never heard of, that's what got me going on to writing about it and understanding really not just the legend, but the real unsolved mystery of the lost panel that's still missing.
So it's your appreciation of the painting, the beauty that is on that painting that made you research about it and write a story about it. Very creative, actually.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Well, it's just interesting that the painting has been stolen so many times by
Yeah.
people such as Napoleon, and then Germany in World War One, and then the Nazis in World War Two. It's been so attracted to them because it's not just oil painting, it's really to them power. And so it's a much stronger image than what you see as an art lover, much deeper meaning.
All right. Your book blends art. It also blends in history, espionage, theft, and of course, you have mystery. How did you decide what kind of story this needed to be?
Well, it was kind of on a silver platter from that standpoint that it was a real
Okay.
mystery with ingredients of a stolen masterpiece, ransomers was sending ransom letters, wars that stole it. Um, but I didn't want to just write a treasure hunt. I really
Okay.
looked at it as, it's a puzzle, but it's it's more about the power, um, the greed, and the faith of who got the art and how did it come back to people.
It's like a status symbol. If you have the art with you, it 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 like it's more of like not really a bragging right, but sort of like a symbol of some sort.
Well, absolutely. The Nazis, they had stolen the entire Ghent altarpiece
Yeah.
during World War II, but missing this last panel. So Hitler and his art director felt that this lost panel was the secret to the entire Ghent altarpiece as
All right.
a map or supernatural power that
Mm,
that was still not working because they were missing this panel.
I see. All right. How about this character that you have? Did I pronounce your name correctly? Sophia Rossi. Is it
Yes,
Rossi? All
you
right.
got it.
So she is an art historian, but she is also personally invested in the search. What did you want readers to see through her eyes? It's like a personal question because when I was like going through your book, it's like, what does the author want me to see through her eyes?
Well, what's interesting about her is that, she's brilliant. She's a PhD, kind of
Yeah.
the ultimate art historian, scientist. But she never had, up until this point, got involved with an art piece that had danger with it. So she's from the scientific standpoint, and then what happens that her faith becomes into play and challenged over the science as she got
Mm,
into more of the supernatural aspect of the art, and then the
okay.
danger of the art. The realization that people kill to possess the art uh, transforms her during the story.
All right, I want to ask you this question because I do also have that kind of perspective when you're looking at art, when you're looking at paintings, you're trying to understand what the artist is trying to tell you, what the artist is seeing. It's a glimpse of the artist's lens, so to speak. Um, your novel suggests that paintings can hold secrets beyond what people see on the surface. And whenever I'm looking at paintings, I do have that kind of like feeling. So, what interests you about the idea that art can conceal as much as it reveals?
Well, I feel like with art, especially 600-year old art, it outlives kings and presidents and
Mm,
wars, the people who created it. And so it's more powerful than actually the people that paint it because it outlives everybody. And so, from the standpoint of uh, the art itself, I feel that there are messages into that art that could not only fit for that day when that art was painted, but future generations. Uh, so it can tell a story. It can tell a story about the past, but in this case, it can tell a story about the future too.
Mark, we're going to look into another character. Please correct me if I mispronounce his name. Jan Jan van Eyck. Is it correct?
Well, in Norway or Netherlands, it's
Jan.
Jan van
Oh,
Eyck. Yeah,
okay.
Jan van
Jan
Eyck.
van Eyck. Okay.
Yeah.
Now this character is interesting. You presented Jan van Eyck not only as a painter, but as someone moving through a world of you have politics, you have danger, and then of course secrecy. Um, what made that version of him interesting to explore?
Well, just from the true history, it was known that he was not only just a painter, but he, at times, because of being a painter, he got access freely through other countries.
Okay.
And he became a spy for his own country into adjoining countries like France by seeing troop movements. And because
Okay.
he was a painter, he could make notes and he could kind of hide it in art and to bring that back to today, Belgium, but Netherlands.
All right. Another interesting piece here is that um, the story you've written moves through different periods of history, including the 15th century, 1934 theft, the Nazi era, and the present day. How did you balance those timelines without losing the reader?
Yeah, that actually was quite a challenge when you have to deal with a 600-year history
Yeah.
on a subject matter. But I feel like there are so many things that in the past, as you move through the story, it answers a question and at times adds a question
Mm.
uh, that lends itself to another era to solve it. And so I feel like it kind of morphs where there are things that occurred that become true and true today, it's in true life, the true history, and then the fictional history that I kind of transitioned some of that to make it a little more seamless.
Okay, I'm going to ask another question that will introduce another character. You have Mr. W. He represents a very different relationship to art than you have the protagonist, Sophia.
Yeah.
What were you exploring through his desire to possess beauty?
Well, he on the surface, um, as a collector, um, in one sense, would employ people like a Sophia
Yeah.
as an art historian.
Um,
But from the standpoint of his deeper motivation, was probably closer to Napoleon and to the Nazis of wanting to control and have power over art. And so um, in the story, he is two-faced, really. On society has one face of really a person that loves art and loves the art
mm.
world, but his inner thought is really control and to gain the power of the art and to possess it.
All right. Many thrillers ask what a secret is worth. Well, at least I'm not sure if our audience would agree, but what I noticed is that many thrillers do ask what a secret is worth. Now, your book also seems to ask who should be trusted with the truth. So, was that an important question for you?
Very much so, because truth isn't simple when it comes to institutions, reputations, fortunes, or faith. So I feel like the truth in parts um, becomes a question for all those areas. And so the story kind of takes that truth and approaches it differently by the particular character of the story as well.
Another question. The book contains sacred imagery and then you have religious history, but um, it is also driven by suspense and danger. How did you approach those elements respectfully while still telling a thriller?
Well, approaching, sacred material, you have to obviously be respectful and the curiosity around a Christian relic. So this wasn't um, mocking faith or reducing religious history to a gimmick. It was really mattered because it mattered back then when
Yes.
the art was done. And so, since this is a thriller with danger and conflict and high stakes, my goal was really to have the suspense come from the mystery of the religious part, and then
Uh,
really a subplot that's faith-based. It's
mm.
becomes a moral dilemma between science and faith and the decisions based on those two areas.
All right. You did mention you researched. There's plenty amount of research that you did. Curious question. I wanted to ask this because I want to look a little bit on the behind the scenes details when you were like writing the book. What kind of research surprised you the most while writing this book?
Gosh, I could talk an hour about that question. The thing that surprised me most is I walked the same footprints as Jan van Eyck in Belgium, in Ghent, in Bruges, in Italy, in France. And what really hit me when I was writing, I felt like I was writing part true history,
Hmm.
part rumored history, and then the fiction for the story. What blew me away in my writing is as I had actually finished several chapters and said, I probably should do more history. And one of the chapters was purely fictional.
Hmm.
And when I met a historian on the Ghent altarpiece, and as we started comparing notes, I found out the chapter I wrote was actually very true, even
Hmm.
though I thought it was fiction. So the fiction blurred between reality and what I thought I was making up. So
Oh,
one case in point, there's a navigation device called an astrolabe in the book, which is
okay.
a true device.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I happened to watch a TV show about it and interests me, and I'm like, I'm going to write this into the book. I write it into the story, and I write it into a clock tower in Venice. That's a well-known clock tower. Um, and as I got into the history, I found out that the holes around the clock face used to hold astrolabes in it.
Oh.
So that shocking truth of what I made up 6 months before, um, that was probably the biggest surprise that there were several of those items in the story. When I told that to friends, they always joke about, so we know who has the lost panel at the end.
Because you figured things out. Um,
Yes.
which part of the globe did this research bring you to? Did it require you to travel somewhere else to extend research?
Well, the obviously the Ghent altarpiece itself that you have
Yeah.
to see in person is shockingly amazing. Like the vividness of the colors is incredible. Um, the the thing that was interesting that the Ghent Cathedral helped me with a church representative to walk where they thought the Ramsoner who stole the painting in 1934 went. And so walking in those footprints were really interesting. something that you wouldn't do as a tourist. Um, I think the parts of, France or South America, um, I think those were probably the more interesting to me is to kind of track how someone would uh, take a painting, what they could do with it, and where the clues led it. There were over 600 clues in the true story, so you can imagine I had a lot to deal with. But geographically, it spreads you across the globe, chasing a lot of those.
Mark, some interviews in movies that we've seen, you have the character being interviewed and they just, try to laugh it out. And your friends did joke about who probably now has the lost panel. It could
Yeah.
probably be, hanged in your living room right there. We just basically don't know.
Yes, that that that's the funny part, is that in true life, the panel's still missing. So writing a book like this and having a conclusion, people ask me, "Well, what happened?" And I tell them, "You have to buy the book to find out what happened."
Yeah, they have to. You think it's still lost?
Um,
Or has it been
I,
like destroyed during the war? Or someone somewhere in a big mansion owns it in their basement or in their vault or somewhere, their collection.
well, yeah, I mean, there's art that's still showing up from, World War II that's been stolen, ancient art that's 400 years old. Um, my best guess is that the ransomer who stole it hid it, and some of the clues that you'll read in the story were that it was hidden as high as a bird could fly, which makes you think it's in a tower. Or there
Hmm.
are many towers in Europe and many in Belgium. And I climbed a 500-foot tower that I was literally the only tourist in the tower, thinking there are many hiding places that you could go and put some. And I actually felt like if I had a painting in my backpack, I could actually hide something and come back years later, and it would still be in this tower. So there's a lot of places where it could be. Some of them in almost plain sight, um, and close, but there's just too many places to look.
The novel deals with stolen art, you have hidden history, and the long shadow of war. What do you hope readers think about differently after finishing your book?
Well, I feel like that they'll look at art differently.
Mm.
They won't look at a painting on the surface, and hopefully they look for the hidden meaning, um, and research it about that art. I think is a gift for them to take with it, um, and that art can be very powerful and it can be very calming, and in this case, it can be very dangerous too.
Yeah. I'm down to my last question, Mark. And before I close this interview, where can our interested audience grab a copy of your book? And if there is a website they can also visit to explore the Lost Panel.
Well, it's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, so it's readily available. It's also on Archway publisher site. And my site's thelostpanel.com, and they can find more interesting facts about the art, some that are not in the book, uh, that they could find there as well.
All right. All the links that Mark has mentioned, we are going to make it available on the description box right below on this video's page, and on our podcast page as well. Mark, to close this interview, at its deepest level, do you think the Lost Panel is more about finding a missing work of art or about confronting what people are willing to do in order to possess, protect, or bury the truth?
Well, I think it's the latter. I think, people want to possess the truth and some want to protect it, some want to bury it. I think that's human nature and where the human drama lies.
Mark, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you for sharing your story and the heart behind the Lost panel.
Thanks so much, Ray. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Are you hinting on is there are you hinting on a sequel for this book?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I'm actually very far along with the sequel.
All
Uh,
right.
Different plot, but the same characters.
That's going to be exciting. And I hope, Mark, that we can in the future talk about the sequel of this book and revisit this interview. Um, I also want to give a big shout out to our awesome viewers and listeners for joining us for this interview. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations on the Author Roundup. I'm Ray Walters. Join me next time as we explore the world of supported self publishing, one indie author at a time.